Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's December 31st, 2021. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, who decided to celebrate New Year's Eve a night early. And that's why you see him wearing glasses this morning, because his eyes are so shot that he couldn't get his contacts in.
Let me tell you, I have a friend who, whenever he drinks too much, he calls it drinker's eye. He swears it's a real malady. It's like a real thing. And we had an event way back when with the kids, and we stayed in a house together, and he drank too much. And I swear to God, the next morning he comes out and his eye is swollen shut. And I'm like, did somebody punch you at the bar last night? Like when I wasn't looking? He's like, it's just my drinker's eye. Like it's a real thing. That's not what I have, by the way. I don't have drinker's eye. It's just I woke up. It's New Year's Eve. I'm not putting my contacts in yet. I got a long night ahead of me. I just wear my glasses for now. Like I got a long day. I gotta pace myself today.
All right. Well, I never got around to saying this, but we're here to discuss the news of the day as always, and might as well jump right to it. And let me start first with we have a show, Inside the Lines show today with recruit Jaden Harris, the cornerback recruit. And man, what a nice kid! You guys are going to love this kid. And we had a lot of fun with him, and we talked about a lot of different subjects. And make sure you guys take the time to watch that, because I think you're really going to like Jaden Harris, and we'll see how great of a player he is or isn't. A guy that came on the radar late. T-Rob, when he was recruiting him, he apologized to him and said, "Hey, I'm sorry I didn't recruit you last year, but you just weren't good enough." And this year they decided he was good enough, and Jaden Harris is in the class, and we took the time to tape an Inside the Line show with him. And make sure you guys all watch that today. It's pretty entertaining. But on another note, our Why at the U, the new series that we created this week, continues today, and we take a look at why Don Chaney will be the starting running back next year. And Matt, we don't know that he will definitely be the starting running back next year. Obviously, Jalen Knighton will have something to say about that. I don't think they're done at running back either. I think you're going to see them bring in a transfer running back here in the coming weeks. And they need to. We've talked about that before. I don't feel that Chaney and Knighton, because of Chaney's durability issues, because of Knighton's size, I don't feel that they're enough. I think you can't count on that for Franklin or Brown. I mean, you got to get another real dude, I think, in that room. And I think they're going to try to. But for today's purposes, we make the case why Don Chaney should be a starter. And Matt, how much do you think that's grounded in reality?
Well, first let's look at Mario Cristobal at Oregon, and not that he ran the offense or anything, but they had a running back last year for their 5 games or whatever it was, and this year that was built very similar to Jalen Knighton. And I looked at the running back before him.
Travis Dye, yeah,
and I looked at the running back before him. And he was built just like Don Chaney. So, it could go either way, I guess. The problem I have with Jalen Knighton is he goes down on first contact very easily. And, maybe he'll get stronger this offseason. He actually lost weight before last season. Remember, we looked at him, we couldn't believe how small he got, apparently on purpose. And I can't remember the last time a Miami running back averaged under 4 yards a carry who was the starting running back. And, some of them, you could say it's the Lions' fault. Some of it might be scheme, but let's face it, as the year went on last year, the running game should have been pretty wide open because teams were just worried about the passing game. Usually when teams are dropping and, dropping 7, worrying about the passing game, you see the running game pretty much explode. Didn't really happen like that for Jalen that much. He was really good in the passing game, obviously, catching the ball out of the backfield. But this is why I think Don Chaney could be the guy, because I just went back the last 5 years. I think the lowest average yard per carry was 4.1 or 4.2 or something like that over the last 5 years. And again, Jalen at 3.9, that's not elite. That's not close to elite. That's very average, if not below average for a Miami running back. So when push comes to shove, if you're not going to get Jalen Knighton the ball in space, there's no point giving him the ball. And if Mario wants to be that between the tackles, downhill running style, which I think he does want to be, then Don Chaney's the guy on the current roster that you're going to use. And that's why we wrote this as our second Y at the U series item, because he makes more sense for the type of offensive line I think Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal want to build. Like, why build a big, strong, powerful offensive line if you got a little tiny guy who was down on first contact who's not going to be pushing guys over behind these big, burly offensive linemen? Again, we talked about the athletic linemen I want yesterday, but they still want physical. And if they're going to be physical, Don Chaney's the physical back. There's no doubt. If it's Don Chaney or Jalen, it's the physical back is Don Chaney, period.
You better get used to those physical linemen. I'm telling you, the days of the skinny arms and the skinny legs and the skinny necks and all those things.
Are you talking about me? I don't appreciate that.
Well, you're not trying to play offensive line. I'm telling you, those days are gone at Miami football when it's going to come to offensive linemen. They're going after big bodies. And, I think those days are gone. But, as far as Don Chaney's concerned, clearly he's got the physical ability to be the starting running back. To me, he's going to have to prove that he has the durability. And he was hurt in high school. He was hurt last year. Seems like he's always hurt, Matt. He's hurt more than Robert Burns was hurt. Quite frankly.
Low blow, man. Low blow.
That is a low blow. I know.
Robert Burns is going to show up at your house tomorrow and start picketing.
But, some guys just seem to get hurt all the time. And I don't know if it's their bodies or what. I know there have been different studies on that subject and, guys that have a propensity to get injured. But for whatever reason, Don Chaney's body has been letting him down. He's got so much ability. But maybe this will be the year that it holds together. And if it does, yes, he does have a chance to be the starting running back. All right, moving on here. Let's talk recruiting a little bit, Matt. And great story today on Tampa Carrollwood offensive lineman James Jenkins. And just to show, again, just another example, we had the story on Alex Mirabal, the offensive line coach, yesterday, and talked about how he's recruiting 17 different kids. Well, this kid gets a midnight message from Alex Mirabal and then gets offered at 8 o'clock the next morning. So, you got to just love it. And Mirabal was in Oregon coaching the offensive line that played against Oklahoma on, I guess it was Wednesday night. And, the guy is still finding time to recruit for Miami and clearly has that Mario Cristobal passion for recruiting, Matt.
Listen, man, Mirabal's got balls, because I would never text a kid after like 10 p.m. I'd be like scared to piss him off. Mirabal doesn't care, man. Like, shoot out those texts, shoot out those DMs at midnight, 1, 2 in the morning. Get on that FaceTime. Hey, buddy, wake up at 7 a.m. I'm going to FaceTime you. I don't care, man. That's when I got time for you. That's when you're going to talk to me. Like, who does that? I've got like after 11 a.m. and before 10 p.m. for every single recruit, because you don't want to, you don't want to piss anybody off. But like, this is Alex Mirabal. He's got, I guess, the testosterone for this sort of thing. And hey, the kid loved it, right? Midnight, 8 a.m., whatever. Don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep, guys. Alex Mirabal might be texting tonight. Don't go to sleep till like 4 in the morning and wake up by 7.
I can't wait till we get some pictures of him, though, in Miami gear, because we can't keep using this picture of him in Oregon gear, but it's such a great picture.
It's called Photoshop. It's what UM always does whenever they hire anybody. They just throw a UM hat where the Oregon hat was, and bam, there you go.
So I basically, if I get rid of the yellow Nike logo on the pants and I Photoshop out the Oregon logo at the bottom by his left ankles, and maybe Photoshop his right chest also, and just leave the Nike logo on the left.
Listen, I guess here's how I want you to Photoshop it. Okay, you see how his legs are in that photo?
Yep.
All right, I want you to get a photo of Zion Nelson and put him on Zion Nelson's shoulders with his legs like that, and Zion Nelson's head coming right in between, like he's carrying the new coach Mirabal on his back. That's how
I'm going to work on that. I will work on that in my spare time over the new year. We'll see if I can pull that off. I mean, that's I don't know if that might be beyond my skill set in Photoshop, but we'll see. All right. Also, we have an interview on the site with Shamar Stewart. I'm going to tell you up front, not to, he doesn't say a whole hell of a lot. We already knew We already knew that Miami.
What do you expect? He's going to say, I'm going to Miami.
Well, I will say this. I think there's still a chance he's going to go to Miami. I think Miami is right there in it with Texas A&M. I think Georgia is obviously still in it as well. And those rumors that Deion Sanders is trying to get Shamar Stewart to look at Jackson State, I think there's some legitimacy to those too, Matt. And, I think that has to be respected. I mean, Deion Sanders looks to me like he is on a mission right now to try to get the head coaching job at Florida State. And he is trying to put himself on the map as a guy that can get stuff done. And he's going after these 5-star kids and recruiting with the big NIL money behind him from, I guess some big money boosters up there at Jackson State. And I think it's true that he's got Shamar Stewart in his sights. But Matt, at the end of the day, I don't think Shamar Stewart goes to Jackson State. I think he goes to Miami or Texas A&M. And it'll be interesting to see. If James Coley, who is recruiting him at Texas A&M, ends up on Mario's staff, which is, I think, a decent possibility, depending on who the offensive coordinator is, I think that would almost solidify the whole thing for the Hurricanes. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
No.
You don't think so?
Here's the story with Shamar. Every recruit's different, okay? Some recruits make their own decisions, and they don't care what anyone else says. Some recruits talk to mom and dad and make a family decision. Some recruits do all the visits, pros and cons, make a list, and then very analytically talk to their coach, talk to their parents, talk to friends, like a whole big rigmarole. Shamar, from my understanding, and he's been getting recruited for a long time, he's really leaning on his coaches more than anybody else to basically make the decision for him. Like this, you got to remember, this is a huge lifetime decision for a young man. People don't want to call him kids anymore. For a young man, it's his life, and to ask a 17 or 18-year-old to make a life decision without having some of the past experiences their coaches who they trust have is a big deal. I think if this was Shamar's decision by himself, he'd already be leaning towards Miami. I really do. But, I think his coaches are really trying to help him, his high school coaches, and sort of say, here's your opportunity to play early here. Here's your opportunity there. Here's NIL deals here. Here's NIL deals there. Here's the big picture at this place. Who can develop you at this, how you'll develop here versus there. Some kids, guess what? Some kids, this is not Shamar, but there are also some kids who I haven't mentioned before, but who need to go away from home. They have, they have bad influences here, and literally I've had kids tell me, yeah, my parents told me I got to leave. Like I can't go to Miami even if I want to. My parents literally will not sign the letter of intent. That's not Shamar. But I'm saying that, you have to remember there's just a wide gamut of different types of kids. And you could say, James Coley coming to Miami will seal the deal because he's from Texas A&M. And maybe it would, because I know that, his high school coaches do have a lot of respect and trust in James Coley. And that goes a long way. When a kid's leaning on his high school coaches to really make the decision for him, which is, what I've heard is basically what's happening with Shamar, those coaches are going to go with guys that they trust to help the young man they're trying to help. And at Miami right now, they weren't looking at Oregon. From what I was told, there was one conversation. It was a brief one with Mario Cristobal while he was at Oregon. And that's it, because they never were interested in Oregon. Why would they talk to Mario Cristobal? It's a waste of time for them. They don't know he's coming to Miami. So there was no relationship at all there. The defensive staff, that Shamar will be working with has not been hired. So now you basically are going to have a month to convince Shamar why he should be at Miami once they hire their coaches. The good news for Miami is they locked in that final official visit. And my guess is Shamar will come on it with one of his high school coaches. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. Even one of those coaches comes unofficially with him, whatever, along with whatever other family member Shamar brings. And after that is when we'll know. You can say, Shamar said nothing in that interview. Shamar's not going to say anything, and he's not going to know anything. They've been very upfront and honest. Texas A&M is his leader. Texas A&M is the team to beat. They've been saying it.
But just remember, who's recruiting him for Texas A&M?
Correct, because they trust him. Because Shamar's coaches, who he's leaning on, know James Coley, and they trust.
What if James Coley comes to Miami and Miami has the same NIL of a program?
So that's what I'm saying. That would help, but it's not the end all be all, because it's we'll see. We'll see, because Shamar's going to affect him a lot.
James Coley comes to Miami, I think Shamar Stewart will definitely come.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying there's more to it, because it's not James Coley. It's really Shamar's high school coaches that are dictating this. And if at the end of the day, James Coley comes to Miami and the high school coaches say, listen, Shamar, we still think it's a better opportunity for you, playing time wise, situation wise. James Coley's not the defensive line coach, so we don't know. Shamar's been up at Texas A&M, I think, 3 or 4 times. I'm pretty sure he's going to be going back in January. So, the one thing Shamar hasn't talked a lot about is friendships he's formed at Texas A&M because we cover Miami. I know he's friends with guys at Miami, Cam Kinchins, James Williams, etc. I don't know how friendly he's gotten with guys at Texas A&M, but, it's going to be really interesting because this is not just a Shamar Stewart decision where it's easy to say Shamar's heart's at Miami. He's going to be a Hurricane at the end of the day. That's easy to say because it's true. But again, Shamar's not one of these kids where he's making the decision on his own. He's relying on people to help him. He's a young man who doesn't want to make a mistake with his life. And he's trusting people. You can argue it's right or wrong. Right. If I was in that situation, I might, if I trusted my coaches who had a lot more experience and have, played college ball and had other kids recruited, I would probably lean on them too, more than my own instincts, right? I mean, that makes common sense. That is common sense. It's actually a smart thing to do. Miami fans might not like it, but it's a smart thing to do to rely on people who have the experience, who know all these different schools, who know, where you'll fit in a depth chart better than you probably can figure out yourself. Because every coach is going to tell you you'll play right away. You'll have you'll be a first rounder in the NFL if you come to our school, blah, 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 blah. So you don't know what to believe or what not to believe. I've gone on way too long, and I'm going to get a lot of flack already from the comments section.
I'm being so disciplined.
I always try to avoid.
I'm not interrupting.
Yeah. I always try not to look at those comments, but I've been looking at them recently. And, some of them are great, positive, and some of them are it's like they don't even want us to talk. Why are you watching this show if you don't want either of us to talk or tell stories? All they want is who's coming, who's not coming. We already know that. We don't know where Shamar Stewart's going to go. Read our stories. And that's what they're telling us. What we're saying as talking heads right now is just, extraneous information we have. It doesn't mean Shamar's going to Texas A&M or Miami either, by the way. But if you don't like our stories, you got Disney Plus at home, right? Isn't there some new Mandalorian cast-off spinoff something?
No, man, they like our story. They just like to bust on us a little bit. Speaking of information, I know everybody wants to know what's going on with the hunt for coordinators. It's all over the place. That's what we're not writing about it. We're not going to throw every single name out there and
anyone who says they know who's getting hired, they don't know. They're making it up.
Yeah, it's wide open right now, guys. Both offense and defense. I think it'll start coming into focus in a few days after the first of the year. But right now, there's so many people that want these jobs, believe it or not. And it's impossible for us to isolate it down to 2 or 3. And we would be doing everybody a major injustice if we just tried to throw every single name out there. These people, they don't want their names out there, quite honestly. Everyone that's applying for these jobs, they don't want everybody to know that they're under consideration for them and stuff. I know of at least one head coach, for example, who is throwing his name in the mix at here at Miami for a coordinator job and stuff like that. That stuff can't get out, and so we're being we're being careful. We don't want to screw up anything, but the process is still very wide open on both the offensive and defensive coordinator fronts. And if you see any tweets or anything suggesting to the contrary, for example, the tweet that somebody sent out yesterday saying Rob Chudzinski is there if he wanted to be there as a candidate, but there's no indications right now that he really, really, really is going to take this job. So we'll see. We've got him on our list too. That's on the message board. But
by the way, would he run? Do you think spread wide open offense at Miami? What do you think? You think he can transform his pass style and do that?
A guy who like that can run anything. He knows offense inside and out. He would gear it towards his personnel. You got Tyler Van Dyke as your quarterback, okay? So let's put yourself in the shoes of Mario Cristobal, who's looking for offensive coordinators right now. Do you take a coordinator who loves to run the quarterback 10, 12 times a game or something? No, because that's not what you want Tyler Van Dyke doing. Tyler Van Dyke is a rifle arm. You want him firing the ball down the field. That's where he's best. That's how he landed on the scene this year and will stay on the scene. And so there's a lot that really goes into this and what your playbook looks like and things like that. The thing I like about Chud is he can adapt his playbook to his personnel. But all that said, I do not think he's going to take the job, unfortunately. I think he would have been a very good candidate, but I think there's going to be other very good candidates, and the job should land in a decent spot at the end of the search. I don't know. When I look at the whole landscape out there, Matt, I don't know that there's a home run candidate. Man, you get that guy, it's a home run. I don't know that beast exists out there really on either side of the ball. So it's going to be really interesting to see where Mario goes here. I mean, he has the budget to do whatever he wants. And I know for a fact he's being extremely thorough in this search that's going on. Like, that's why you're not seeing a lot of names out there and stuff. Nobody's really leaking a lot of names and stuff because this search is so thorough, and that there's so many guys out there that I've heard that he's spoken to or is speaking to and stuff, that it's impossible to hone in on who's going to get the job yet. So we'll see what happens there.
Can I ask you one more thing? I have one more question for you.
Yeah, of course.
This is the CaneSport Good Morning CaneSport interview. It's not a question as much. I have a statement/question because you'll weigh in on it. So, like, this is something I've covered football a long time. I think I understand football fairly well. I know you do as well, although fans may disagree about both of us. But, like, if I'm going to be the next Miami Hurricanes offensive coordinator, and believe it or not, I would have done the same thing if I was Rhett Lashley, which Rhett Lashley didn't, even though he's a genius offensive coordinator. I would run the RPO, even with a quarterback who's not that mobile, like Tyler Van Dyke. He's mobile enough. I would run an RPO spread offense, but I would never run those ridiculous hurry-ups. Every time they did a hurry-up, like they complete a long pass down the field of what they call an explosive play of 15-plus yards, they would rush up to the line of scrimmage, and every time it would just be a run up the middle for 3 or less yards. Every time. Like, that's what they were taught to do. And I thought it was stupidity, and I thought that it was even worse when you have that bad a defense. You're not doing your defense any favors when you're constantly running the hurry-up. Like, I would want my defense to play as few reps as possible, like, if you're going to run 80 plays on offense, your defense is running 80 plays on defense. And, like, your defense is bad, man. So, like, I would try to get some of that clock going while you're on the offensive side of the field. Take some of the drives off of your defense's back. Let them rest a little bit, especially with the depth chart problems they were having. We're not rotating guys in that don't belong on the field, because they were constantly rotating the defensive line. We criticized it so many times. But part of that was, like, Manny Diaz was freaking out because the hurry-up offense was making his defense play so many plays. So if you can sort of do the same offense, but without the hurry-up aspect to it, which I get it. They think the defense is going to get winded and tired, whatever. But, like, you're killing your own defense at the same time because the backups are so bad. Like, if you have the depth to do it, I'd say great. Hurry-up offense all day long. But this Miami defense this year still isn't going to have the depth. So I would love to see the new coordinator come in and say, we're not running a hurry-up. We're running a spread, RPO, slow offense. That doesn't exist yet, right? That's what I want to see. Like, I think it makes sense with Miami's defense as bad as it is, but
now they're really going to crush. You're going to get crushed for saying that.
You think I'm crazy? You think I'm crazy?
No, I think you're going to get crushed. I think people love that up tempo spread.
They do.
You know what?
They do. But when Matt, your defense is that bad, it makes no sense.
I know, but if we're honest about it, a big hoopla was made about Rhett Lashley and the high speed up tempo offense, but yada yada yada. They didn't really run an up-tempo offense.
They ran 80 plays a game. Listen, they went from 63 to 65 plays a game to 80-plus plays a game. So they were definitely running a higher tempo offense. But the other thing is, if you do points per play, they were better than, obviously, Danitos by far, but they weren't 34 points a game. They'd be more like 30 points a game with a regular tempo.
He did a good job. But it never really became what it was advertised that it was going to be. I mean, it was fine. I mean, it was a decent offense, but it never was like elite or anything like that. I mean,
it was a pretty good offense.
The second half of this year was pretty damn
34 good. Points a game both years is pretty good,
Yeah, and especially the second half of this year, I thought it was really good with Tyler Van Dyke. Tyler Van Dyke made the offense better. I mean, I love the Eric King. I love what he did for the program, but Tyler Van Dyke absolutely made the offense better.
If you extrapolate what he did those last 6 games, there's a reason we wrote our first one about him maybe being in Heisman contention because, like, he was 300 yards plus every game, 425, I think, against Pittsburgh. I mean, like, he was just unbelievable. If you take out that FSU game and those first two real starts he had, like, he was as good as any quarterback in the nation, whether it's from Alabama or wherever. I mean, he was outstanding.
Yep. No doubt about it. And I saw a stat earlier. I guess it was yesterday that I'm looking for right now if I could find it, but I'm not finding it easy, so I'll move on. But there was some amazing stat about, you know, how Tyler Van Dyke had done things statistically the second half of this year that very few Power 5 quarterbacks have done in many, many years. And, you know, I guess it was yesterday we talked about, can he be a Heisman candidate? And the question absolutely is that if he keeps this up and keeps putting up numbers like he did this year, he absolutely can be a Heisman candidate. So, you know, kudos to Tyler Van Dyke. And, you know, I gotta think that the presence of Tyler Van Dyke is a big reason why there's so many candidates for the offensive coordinator position, you know, which there are. I mean, I think there's at least a dozen candidates for that job right now. So, you know, we'll see what happens. All right. We would be remiss if we didn't take a moment and talk about the Canes basketball team. I don't know how many of you got to watch the win against NC State. If you did not, go online and find a condensed game or something. What a phenomenal game. What a phenomenal set of performances by, you know, Isaiah Wong, Cam McGusty, Jordan Miller had an amazing game, 24 points. And it just continued onward from there. I mean, everybody really stepped up to come together and get them out of Dodge against a pretty feisty NC State team. You don't get any free passes in the ACC, Matt. All these teams are real competitive. And another one comes into the Buck on Saturday at 6 p.m. And I urge everybody, and that's Wake Forest, I urge everybody to get behind this basketball team. This is an exciting team. It's a new team. Some people tried to jump on Larinaga earlier in the season because they weren't winning. But you got to remember something. They put this whole team together during the offseason with transfers and scotch tape, really, Matt. And so who realistically would have expected them to be in midseason form coming out of the gate? But once they got past like the 4-game mark and now have started building a chemistry with each other, this team is very competitive in the ACC thus far, Matt.
I mean, look, I want to be
you're not buying it, right?
I want to be as optimistic about basketball as you are, but NC State sucks, bro. Like, they suck. They lost 4 of the last 5. Murray State beat them like fairly easily the game before. They're not good. They have one amazing player. And like when you watch the game, they somehow were up by 8 points with 10 minutes left in the second half. Like, Isaiah Wong still is so inconsistent. I don't understand why. Cam McGusty's awesome.
But when they put him on the ball,
it was great to see Jordan Miller do well. But listen, here's the deal. Okay, here's the deal. We'll learn a lot more. You know, Wake Forest is actually a decent ACC. They're not the best ACC team, but they're a decent ACC team. You know, they played pretty even with Louisville their last game. You know, they beat Virginia Tech earlier in the year pretty easily. And then they're 11-2. And like NC State's no good. And I think they beat Clemson. Clemson's not that good. Like, those are the two.
Wake will be a real test Saturday.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, Miami's won 6 in a row. Awesome. If they beat Wake, and they're at home, you know, we'll see. But like, remember, they were playing a bad NC State team, and it's not like everyone in the country thinks Miami's amazing. They were favored by 3.5. So it's like, you know, Miami's still a bottom half ACC team in the eyes of bookies and ACC media. Like, they were picked towards the bottom half of the conference for a reason. And like, this is a game where they can make a statement because they're playing at a level where they have a lot of confidence. And if they come in with that confidence against Wake Forest and they hit on all cylinders and they beat Wake Forest, now we're having a conversation where Miami's now 3-0 in the ACC. They're going to have opened a lot of eyes in the ACC and nationally. This is the game. Because to me, they haven't proven anything yet. Like, you got to beat somebody decent. Wake Forest is decent. They're not great, but they're decent. And that's the stepping stone. Because I thought they were very up and down against NC State. You could say how great everyone played, you know, and when you win a game, everything looks a lot better. But the truth is, NC State imploded in the last 4 minutes. If NC State doesn't implode in the last 4 minutes, Miami loses to a really bad team, and this is a whole different conversation. So, you know, I always say, you know, show me. Like Miami's got to show me. Just like the Miami Hurricanes football team under Mario Cristobal has to show me. You have to earn Matt Shodell's respect. Not like Gary Ferman, who says this is going to be a great team every year in basketball, right? The last 3 years, they're going to be great.
Am I wrong? They've won 6 games in a row. Right, they've already got more wins, I think, than they had the entire season last year.
Right, so you'll be right if they beat Wake Forest and keep on going.
How am I wrong? I said it was going to be a much improved team.
Yeah, I agree. But listen, here's the thing. Every year before the season, Gary, you're just always way more optimistic than I am about every sport team. And that's because I'm a pessimist by nature and you're an optimist. It's not a bad thing. You're the glass half full. I'm the glass half empty.
I screwed up football, man. I thought they were going to win 9 games this year. They only got to 7. I did. I was overly optimistic.
Being an optimist is a lot of fun. Being what do they call me? A negative Nilly, Nancy, Nelly, whatever. It's no fun being me. I'd rather be you, Gary. We're going to win the national championship every year. Why not? Like, that's fun to expect that. I always expect to lose all the good teams. So, the reason, by the way, the reason I do that is that way I'm not disappointed. I have not been disappointed by the Miami Hurricanes in 20 years because if you expect the worst, you can only be pleased with the results. You'll probably get very disappointed over the last 20 years with a lot of what you've seen.
All right. Well, with that, that's going to do it for today. In all seriousness, we really want to wish everybody a great, happy New Year and have a fun New Year's Eve. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Hey, and by the way, don't you go to Joe's Stone Crabs on most New Year's Eve?
I'm going to maybe go get some takeout this year. Yeah. From Joe's.
Well, then you're just propagating this whole slaughter of the stone crabs in the bottom of the bay. You're an enabler.
No,
you should be canceled.
No, you know what I'm doing?
Canceled.
No, I'm paying a ridiculous amount of money for them because the
money's
anglers,
going to the stone crab murderers, according to you.
Yeah, no, because the anglers like you are killing the population because you're cutting off all the damn claws. And
why don't you just pay for Ghislaine Maxwell's defense or something like that? It doesn't make any sense what we're doing.
The price has gone from $50 to $80 for 5 stone crabs.
I'm aware.
Yeah,
I'm not selling my stone crabs, by the way. But if you're offering me, if that's your
enjoy the semifinal games that are going to be on tonight, and have just an all-around great New Year, and we will come back at you on Monday morning. So until then, see you next time, everybody.